everybody, welcome back to Dakota Does Dressage. This is the final part, the third part of a series that I've done about a grooming session that I did with Dakota where I really just meant to knock some dirt off of him to try my saddles on before the saddle fitter was coming out a few days after this. And I just wanted to see if he was going to have the same reaction that he's been having when I put the saddles on. But the grooming session turned into like this really intense massage, and I just wanted to share that with everyone. So here we go. I'm going to try the Circle Y Flex 2 Pioneer Trail saddle on. If you're wondering why I have him just loose in the stall, it's because all the other times I've saddled him and he's had the reaction, I've had him in the cross ties. And I just wanted to eliminate the variable of the halter and the cross ties, maybe putting pressure on his pole and causing the discomfort, and see if it is really truly the saddle. So clearly, the head tossing, the ear pinning, I don't know if that was a nip at me. I didn't feel anything when he did that. He's never, ever, ever tried to bite me before. So if that was him thinking about biting me, this is a pretty severe reaction for him. So, I do not ride him after this. I just check the girth to see if that's making any kind of a difference, and want information I can give the saddle fitter when they come out.
Now, normally he'd be tossing his head and hurling expletives at me for even just touching this off billet with the girth in my hand. So, the fact that he's not is great. Okay, there. All I did was just kind of drop the girth down by his side, and he's telling me he's not wild about that. I don't like the way the saddle is sitting on his back right now. It doesn't look right, and my pad isn't nicely tucked up under there. I've got plenty of wither clearance, which my concern was, is the saddle too wide? But I can fit like 4 fingers in there. My cinch strap does come down, not right here at his girth, but I don't want my saddle too far up on top of his shoulder. I'm so looking forward to having a professional saddle fitter come out so I can learn and stop trying to make guesses. And I hear you, everyone who's saying that's what you should have done in the first place. Yes. Absolutely. Lesson learned for the rest of my life. Okay. Now, he's always been a little cinchy since the first time I ever put a saddle.
So it was at this point that my Pivo battery basically cut out on me and stopped recording actual video. It recorded my voiceover, but it was no longer recording video. So essentially, I'm saying I don't like the fit of this saddle. Right now, he's having these reactions to it. So I pulled the saddle off. I put my old Corriente saddle on. He's having the same reactions. And so, any immediate relief that the massage may have offered him, that I would have suspected would offer him, wasn't there. So this could mean there's something else underlying or going on, or it is truly that these saddles don't fit. So I'm going to pick it up after the saddle fitting actually occurs. And so the next couple of videos are a few days later, where I'm just going to talk about what the saddle fitter told me. You'll get to see both of the saddles on Dakota, and I just go over the news that I got.
I want to walk you through what the saddle fitter shared with us last week when they were here. And there's some good news and some not as great news. The good news is that one of the 2 saddles that I own right now actually according to this saddle fitter, is going to be a good fit for him, and I should stick with it. And not only is it a good fit, they felt like this was probably the best fit that I could find within my price range. You know, if I were to go on another saddle hunt, I probably couldn't do any better than the one I have unless I were willing to spend a lot of money on something custom, which isn't going to happen right now. But that means I still have a saddle that I need to sell, and if I choose to sell it, I'm kind of back and forth right now about, you know, do I hang on to both saddles thinking I'll have another horse down the road and maybe it'll fit that horse. I don't know. I'm kind of back and forth at this point, but I want to share with you what the saddle fitter told us, and I'll let you know which saddle is actually going to be the one that I'll continue to ride him in once I can get him back in a better place physically for him to be ridden. So let's start with the new saddle, just because that's the one that I had the fitter put on him first. So let me grab that. Yeah, so you can see he's still a bit sensitive to having the saddles placed on him. You have to remember here, when I bought this saddle, it was recommended to me that I get him the widest tree available, which is actually a draft horse size tree according to the tag that came on the saddle. And the fitter said it actually seems a bit tight on him in the shoulders, and so that could be causing the pinching around his withers and why he's been so girthy, especially putting this saddle on, because, you know, I would go to put the cinch on the off billet and he'd already be like pinning his ears, tossing his head. Not even cinching him up yet by the time he's telling me, please don't put that on me. So, you know, I've been paying a lot more attention to the bar angle and how much clearance I have here. So again, without a pad on, I have 4 fingers worth of clearance up here in the pommel area. That's really good. And to me, it looked like the bar angle matched his shoulder pretty well. I was surprised when they said that this is a bit on the narrow side for him and it could be pinching. The recommendation was if I wanted to continue riding him in the saddle, which they didn't really recommend, I would just need a very, very thin pad. And I do own like a thin line pad that I'll use if he's like significantly overweight, which we're getting to that point. He has put on so much weight. But I'll put that thin line pad on with like a woven pad over top most of the time. So, you know, we felt up underneath to feel for any bridging or tight spots. And I can feel where it is a bit tight right here on the back of his wither. And then just a little bit of bridging right under the seat. There's kind of a pocket here where my hand is. And then a little bit tighter back here on the cantle. So the feeling from the fitter was this isn't a great fit for him. The recommendation would be not to continue to ride him in it. If I didn't have anything else available, they're like, you could make it work, but really you should be looking for something else. But I do have something else. I have my old saddle right here. So let me pull the new saddle off and put the old saddle on. This one is so much heavier. Okay. Okay, so for the old saddle, I feel like I don't have as much clearance here at the wither. I can really only get like 3 fingers in there, 2 comfortably. 3's kind of pushing it. They're not stacked right on top of each other. They're a bit squished in there. As far as the angle goes, The angle does actually look pretty good. So, you know, I told them, I don't know what bar angle this is, what the tree size is. They measured and told me it's a full quarter horse bar. So it does seem to fit him well here. They also said that it could be my saddle's been slipping back, and that's been causing him a bit of discomfort, and that's why I was feeling the bridging, sliding my hand up underneath. I needed to really pull the saddle a bit more forward onto his wither. And so I'm just going to check to see how it feels underneath. And with, you know, he has gained quite a bit of weight, so I don't feel the big pocket here that was under my seat that I was feeling back in the spring. So they suggested using a really nice thick pad. I brought out the diamond wool pad that I've been riding in, and they said, yep, that's perfect. A pad with the wither cut out, which it has, nice and thick, can pull it up off of his shoulder, is what I should be riding him in. So we're gonna stick with the old saddle, but if you could see him kind of tossing his head and giving me some dirty looks, there's clearly still something going on. So we talked about that a little bit too. And the saddle fitter, palpated around his neck, you know, tried some flexion with him, palpated over his back. She said he was pretty sore in his back, and that's a bit of a red flag considering he's been on rest for months. You know, I've only done a few little rides just to keep him from going feral in case she was going to have me ride in both the saddles, which didn't end up happening. So he's had just very, very light riding, you know, maybe like 3 rides in the last 2 months or so. So not enough to make him very back sore. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to have him retested for Lyme disease. And for people who are watching this who don't know what Lyme disease is, because it is something that is more prevalent in the part of the United States that I'm in kind of like the mid-Atlantic region. It's a tick-borne illness. So basically, the tick carries this disease. They bite the horse, they infect the horse, and it's treated with antibiotics, but we're not actually treating a bacterial infection. The disease is caused by a protozoa. So it is something he will have the rest of his life. There's no cure for it. I just have to manage it. Most horses lead a pretty normal life, but you just have to be on the lookout for the signs that they could be showing that might indicate it's called a titer in their bloodstream, that has risen up to a point that's causing them some discomfort. So it could be that the initial treatment didn't really knock it down low enough to relieve the discomfort that he's been having. So I'll have the vet come out and draw blood. That blood will go to a lab where they will test it and see at what level he might be for, again, it's called a titer level for the Lyme disease. So if it's high enough, if it's above a certain marker, then we treat for it. If it's below a certain marker, you know, then it will look into some other things. You know, it could be an ulcer has kind of been on my mind. Could he have an ulcer that's, you know, maybe he's had that for a long time and it just got really irritated over the spring with grain coming back into his diet and being on the antibiotic and all of the things, the changes that have happened. So I didn't want to jump to that first just because I know he is positive for Lyme disease, and it was suggested back in the spring that about 3 months after treating, you should have them retested unless, and this is from my vet, unless they are really kind of back to normal, not showing any neurological signs or behavioral signs that would make you think they should be tested again. So since he's not back to his old self, I'm going to have him tested again. I don't know when that's going to happen. We haven't scheduled that yet. But in the meantime, I'm going to give him a good groom and maybe do some groundwork today. But I just wanted to give you guys an update on the saddle, what the saddle fitter had to say. Just other interesting points about him. She said that he has a pretty curvy back, and so he does need a saddle with quite a bit of rock to the tree. She didn't seem concerned at all about, like, you know, he's older, does he have a sway back? She's like, no, he's low in the back, but again, he hasn't been worked to maintain his top line muscle. So it's not that he has a sway back, but he is built downhill. That's just a conformational issue with him that, you know, I bought him as a 2-year-old, and his front end never really caught up to his hind end, so I got what I got. I think that's probably the main reason why his back has been sore, just because, you know, being downhill all the time, it could be causing some chronic discomfort across his top line. But anyway, it's nice to have some answers. I should have started with the saddle fitter back in the spring before jumping into just buying a saddle and trying to figure it all out on my own. So please learn from my mistake. I hope that this video helped you, and just stay with us to learn more about how things are going. And I'm still hopeful that we could get at least one test in, maybe by like October, if we just can get him to a place where he's more comfortable. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.